Hi Diane, thanks so much for meeting with me today.
Sure.
So my supervisor, the school psychologist, said that you had some time to meet today and that you had a concern in your class about a student or a group of students, and that you would be willing to do this instructional consultation process together.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm happy to help.
Well, so the first step is what's called contracting, and what I want to do is just really talk about the process and lay out some of the pieces and make sure that it's something that you want to work on together.
Okay.
Does that sound okay?
That sounds great. Yeah.
Have you ever been involved doing instructional consultation before, or any type of consultation?
Not instructional consultation. Mostly what we have are the problem-solving teams, and so I've started to get involved in those a little bit, and I've had some sidebar conversations with the psychologist about some of the kids, but it's been pretty informal and brief, and so I'm not sure if this is anything like what you're going to do.
So you did some work on the team, on the problem-solving team, and had some involvement with consultation, and then you did some less formal consultation outside of the team.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so for, I'm learning the process as we go in the class, and it seems like there's a formality to it where there's a set number of stages that we'll work through, and so maybe I'll talk through what some of those stages are and get an understanding of what the process will look like.
That would be really helpful, because I am a little concerned about the time, so I want to get a good feel for how much time this will involve. And,
yeah, well today, you're okay with the amount of time we have today to meet?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And, I could say up front, the beginning stages of the process take longer amount of time, and then as we get into the intervention stages later on, it will take less time usually.
So when we meet, you mean?
Yeah, our actual meetings, and we might even start meeting less frequently later on. So, we start, this is a form that we use to document data in instructional consultation, and so there's a spot here for different concerns, and as we talk about them, we can write. We usually write in pencil because things develop as we go. It's formative in a way. Okay. So we'll talk through some of the concerns that you have, and then and that's the problem identification stage, and then we'll prioritize a concern that we want to focus on together, and then we'll put the concern in observable and measurable terms. We'll do some goal setting, okay, and then
that part, sort of like the problem-solving team work we do together here.
Yeah, it's similar to the work that you're doing. Okay, and then here we have a graph, and we'll be able to hopefully have the problem defined in a way that's observable and measurable, and we'll graph it and hopefully see some student progress as we go. Okay, and then this gives us some spot to designate what we're doing for the intervention. Okay.
Yeah,
and
that's helpful.
The whole time we'll work shoulder to shoulder to develop it together, and up through all the stages in the process. Does that sound okay?
I think so.
All right. What else do I want to tell you? It's a non-evaluative process.
Okay.
So I know you agreed to videotape today, which I appreciate. And the videotapes are just for me. I think I had told you that before we started videotaping. But for me to work on my own skills as a consultant, and my supervisor might listen to the tape or watch the tape occasionally. Sure. But it's not like I'm going to share it with the principal or with other teachers or anything like that. This is a process for us to work together. Okay.
I did think of a question I had earlier.
Sure.
I forgot. You used the term instructional consultation. Some of the issues I'm concerned with aren't really so much about instructional. At least that's what I'm thinking now. There's some kids with some behavior issues and motivational issues I think I'm concerned about. So is it restricted to instructional problems, or can it be open to different kinds of issues that I might see?
Yeah, I feel like as we talk about it, we'll be able to work together to create a shared frame of what we think the concern is. And so it sounds like you're thinking there might be some motivational pieces that are part of things. And so we'll talk that out together, and that would be okay if that's what we identified as the problem. And it sounds like you're thinking about a group of students, which is...
I've got a few really tough kids this year.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, which is neat, because in class we talk about sometimes, with consultation it starts as a single student, but then as you work, you realize that it's a group of students in the class, and so...
that makes sense.
Yeah. And actually, I wanted to just show you this, what we call the instructional triangle, and it's a little heuristic that I learned in class that's part of the instructional consultation process, and that we think of a student or a group of students that they bring
Mhm.
some prior knowledge to the classroom, but it's really, we think about it within the match of the classroom and the
Mhm.
environment, like the instruction that's being
Mhm.
given and the tasks that they're being given and how that all fits together. So that's just part of the way that we think about things. So we'll revisit that. That might come up as we talk
Oh,
through
that
the
makes
problems.
sense, that makes a lot of sense, yeah.
And then you talked about so a group of students and that motivation
Mhm.
might be something that we look at initially. Also, just another thing, although we may end up focusing behaviorally, one thing in class that we talked about is that a lot of times that what present as behavioral concerns might be instructional concerns. So, as I talked about this triangle, I don't know yet enough about the problem, but as we
Yeah.
talk about it, it might be something that we just think about. Maybe there's an academic piece that we want to
Sure.
think about. So.
Yeah, I have thought about that too, yeah, I could see that.
Okay. If anything should come up with parent involvement, I'm not sure exactly how that works in the school here, but with regard to the
Right.
case, is that something you know about in terms of consultation?
Well, no, actually, but I would assume that I would contact the parent. I mean, I'm their primary contact for the kids in my class, so.
Yeah, so that's what I think
and
that
if
would make
we,
sense.
like, does this involve a lot of time outside of the time that you and I meet?
Well, I think we'll do some problem identification and
Mhm.
figure out what we want to work on, and then there'll be a particular intervention
Mhm.
that we'll design based on
Okay.
that problem, and so putting that intervention in place, and we'll do that together.
Okay.
And I don't know exactly what how we'll do
Right.
that, but
Right.
we'll figure out a role that each of us can potentially play. But it will be
Mhm.
shoulder to shoulder, as I said. We'll do it together.
So depending on what that is, or how much we might be singling out some kids, we might need to contact parents in
Mhm.
class.
Right,
So.
and maybe that's something I could talk to my supervisor about to
Yeah,
figure out
that's a
exactly
good
how
idea.
it works.
Okay.
So it seems like we're meeting today's Monday.
Mhm.
Would next Monday work again to meet?
I think so, that should work.
Okay,
So will
I'm
we
in
meet
the
once
school.
a week, or is that
Well,
typical, what you wanna do?
I'm here 2 days a week, so I
Okay.
really, I want to fit with the scheduling that works well for you. Maybe we
Mhm.
could even start off more frequently. I don't know whatever works best with your
Let's
schedule.
see what happens on Monday with how we define the problem and wanna get started with it and see what makes sense. And what other day are you here this week?
I'm here Thursday,
Mondays and Thursdays?
Yeah.
Okay.
so we could talk.
Possibly work too.
Okay, so maybe we'll talk next Monday and then see, and we can kind of negotiate the schedule as we go.
Okay.
We could be responsive to, how much time you have,
What else
or
is going on?
Yeah. not that much, right?
Just a
Okay.
little.
All right. Well, thank you for meeting with me today.
Sure.
All right.